Okay. Varel here, Flow Roofing out of Portland, and welcome back to our frequently asked question mini series, where we are going to dive into question number 11. Can the roof leak without visible interior damage? Of course it can. The ISO in your attic space or the ISO in your flat roof system, if you have any, can hold water, and if it's deep enough, can hold a lot of water before it ever shows through drywall, stucco, lath and plaster, bubbling the paint, creating damages that you're going to have to eventually fix. And it can spread in a bigger way on flat roofs that creates what's called saturation in the ISO, and that's going to be a bigger targeted repair to go and then cut that out and repair it properly. But steep slope, water can travel from penetration down the roof line because the underlayments are on a rafter. We've seen it travel pretty far, and so that's kind of the short answer. But a roof leak may present itself in many different ways. It's not just an adorable little onion. It's an evil little onion. And these leaks, they'll pop up at the worst time. You think you're good. You've had your first rain. You're well into the winter, right? We're into February right now. It's February 21st. People are still calling in about leaks, right? You would have thought, oh, everyone established the fact that they have leaks back in November, December. Weird. It took 3 to 6 months for some of these people to find out they have an issue, okay? And it's not ideal for anyone. No one wants to have to experience a leak that then they have to go do drywall patching on. It disrupts their schedule. Potentially it breaks their computer or something if it leaks. It just kind of messes up life. You start to question why, of course. And so if it's in your kitchen or your bathroom, it's reasonable, it's not guaranteed, that more than likely that leak is associated with one of your plumbing vents, at least on the steep slope side of things. Penetrations are more oftentimes the cause of most leaks. Second biggest cause is workmanship. Third cause would be aging systems, just from my experience and all the inspections I've been on. And we're going on about 10 years. I've seen a couple roofs here in Portland. I think that a lot of people could have avoided these situations if they would have just had a fall inspection back in September, gotten a tune-up, or at least knew what their status was. I see too many of these real estate transactions also that will put people into situations that are not completely honest. And it sucks. There are some agents out there still, and I don't know them, but I know that when we get the roof report from the inspectors, that typically they just want to push the sale. They want to get that house transacted. They want commissions on the line. And those individuals are not necessarily like, well, make sure it's a great house for my buyers or seller's agent. Make sure they know everything about the house that I know the inspector knows. And sometimes the inspectors, I don't know anyone that's done this, but I guarantee you there's some foul play around closed door situations where they're talking about, make this thing happen, and maybe they're bribing them. I don't know. But the other factor I've seen is that the inspectors don't always know what they're looking for with relating to the roof. They'll find everything else to do with the roof and the gutters that I don't know about, because I only know about roof and gutters. They'll tell you everything you want to hear. But as a buyer, as an educated buyer, a good inspector should know when a roof is installed properly or not. We had a buyer in Beaverton in 2025, and this roof turned out to be a DIY homeowner special right before she bought the house. And so the shingles are brand new. And she's like, what do you mean this is a new roof? What are you talking about? But the flashing was like a kindergartner had done it, right? There's exposed fasteners. The stagger on the shingles left nails in the keyways between the shingles so that water would hit the nail. And she had a leak. It was around a pipe collar that they didn't even replace. And I'm like, well, did you have a home inspector involved here, right? And so, unfortunately, that gal is going to need major repairs, if not replacement. We cannot, if there's major repairs needed, and ongoing extensive workmanship related issues that we can tell throughout the system. Like they had been mixing and matching products. There was different types of hip and ridge. It was pretty obvious to me, at least, not to necessarily just any old homeowner, but I was like, we can't just repair this area because there's going to be other issues on the system. And flat roofs is a completely different animal than steep slope. So you're going to have ISO build in and cover board, potentially second layers in commercial. Now you can have technically 2 layers in residential, but that's not the industry leader mentality. If you're going to do roofing, take it down to the deck, repair the damages, build it back up so it's built to last. At least these are what the best guys in the country are doing. So I'm just trying to follow what success looks like, because I know those standards are what allowed them to get to that 50-year, 100-year mark. I don't know if I'm going to be in the game for 20, 50 years, but I got some years left in me, okay? We're going to go for it. And with flat roofs, with ISO, cover board, and how it's built up, whether it's fully adhered or mechanically installed, which means either screws or glue, you're going to stagger the ISO in such a way that a 4x8 sheet has another 4x8 sheet halfway through the sheet. So that's going to step down that sheet or curl back in. That step down effect, and even more so if it's got like a taper. You don't see too many issues around the taper or the crickets, but when that water steps down the ISO because of the stagger and how the system's built, the leak can show a long way away from the actual issue. And so it requires a well-trained team to identify the issue, to prescribe and diagnose the issue, prescribe the solution. And at that point, we can look at a targeted repair that's based on trying to make sure we can get that system back up to par. And not every flat roof is repairable. And when you have ISO saturation, then you have to go and you do rip it out down to the decking, and you got to build it back up, and then you do your targeted rebuild. And that spot where the repairs typically happen is overbuilt. It's going to last a lot longer than anything else. Why would you underbuild a repair? Why would you not want your repair to last? And so we've done TIs on the Amazon buildings. We've been downtown near the train station. We've been across the region and seen our fair share of systems, ModBit, EDPM, TPO, PVC. I don't like EDPM because I don't know enough about it. I like to stick to what I know so I can train my team based on what I understand, because if I can't communicate the fact that this is what's going on, then they're going to have a harder time figuring out what the solution is. We've got great experience everywhere, but when I'm coaching individuals on how to prescribe based on the issue, typically, I mean, now more than ever, I don't have to do much, but I'm very much involved with the day-to-day in production. We've got 4 service trucks that will typically run, split, combine, and then we got the sheet metal team, we got the membrane team. So I go 2 to 4 on the shingles, 2 to 4 trucks on the shingles, 1 sheet metal team, 1 membrane team. And that has allowed us to have the flexibility to stick to what I know, which is shingles, membrane, and metal. And I want to invest in the robot that's in the metal side of things. It's a seamer, and the seamer, it's like $12,000. I know that we'll eventually need it, but right now we'll just stick to renting one. You haven't shipped in. It sucks. It's like $1,000 to rent. Why not just buy it? But the seamer on the metal side allows you to put a roof on that will leak free to a 012, a 2-inch mechanically locked metal roof, done properly with all the flashing details, the sealants, the butyl tapes, the flashings, the right components. We use Taylor Metals out of Salem. Will be a permanent system because you're crimping that metal twice, that allows it to withstand even a flat roof situation. So it's a 2-inch rib, right? And the likelihood of even having a snow or ice issue when you've done a double crimp is 0, according to the manufacturer. And so we trust their specs. If we follow them, at that point, we're good to go. Now, about a 0 to 212, you can do like a 1 inch and 3/4. I think it's MS 150, and that's more of a snap lock panel, and that gets you pretty good for most awnings, most lower slope buildings. Even go with the 24 gauge kind of. Don't go for 26. You might as well stick to it. And then aluminum on the coast. It's a little more expensive, but go for aluminum. You never want to deal with steel on the coast. It just doesn't make sense. We see a lot of steel flashing situations out of there on the seaside, Tillamook, Cannon Beach, even Lincoln City, Astoria. It's like, what were people thinking? But, everyone's in their own situation. Not everyone understands the code. So it's like you gotta educate people's. And at that point, then you can have the conversation around what the right way is to proceed. So, flashings, again, workmanship with a leak. On the residential side, the commercial side, workmanship is going to be one of the common denominators, what creates most of those issues. And the best way to curve any of that from happening prematurely is just to jump on it once a single year. And I'm not